Hey, we've got a bunch of new House of the Dragon stuff that we need to talk about. Mainly, clips. Like, we've got actual scenes from the show. I can't show them here in this video for copyright purposes, but I will be discussing them. Also, we got some new promotional images that they've released for House of the Dragon Season 2. The show's like a week away, so do yourself a favor, right? I've been uploading content about this series for almost 4 years now, right? But I was covering the leaks during the off-season. So if you want me to cover the leaks during the off-season for Season 2 to Season 3, then subscribe to me here on YouTube. Also, slap a like on this video. It's the best thing you could ever do if you wanted to help my channel out. Just slap a like on it. Like goal is going to be 420. But the reason why I bring up the leak thing and, covering content in between seasons is because this season, it's only going to be 8 episodes. So before you know it, the show's going to be over. You're going to be waiting on people like me to entertain you throughout what's known as the loera, or the wait for the next season. Luckily, we have Duncan Egg next year. But let's jump into it. Sorry if you don't like my, you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you call it black speech. But if you're, you're a Song of Ice and Fire fan, you know that is full-on Valyrian, right? But I'm just going to be really excited during this video, so if you're wearing headphones, turn the audio a bit down, so that way I won't scream and blow out your eardrums. But that does not mean it must be need one to... The scene was intense. Alright, so you've probably watched it. If not, go and watch it. Go online. You can see right there, House of the Dragon. The clip was put on HBO. I believe it was an interview that Olivia Cook did with Stephen Colbert, right? And they talked about her career and stuff. But we're most interested in the clip. In this scene, right, we have Alicent and Sir Otto. And I'm sorry I'm not able to show the clip in the video. But Sir Otto is having a conversation with Alicent. Alicent starts out the scene by saying, look, all we have to do is mind Aegon until he gets bored. Then once he gets bored, he'll sort of move aside, right? Go carry about whatever he wants to do, right? He is the king, but basically we just need to do whatever he says until he gets bored. Then once he gets bored, we can take over, right? And then Sir Otto, her father, responds with, that's an awesome strategy, Alicent, but there's something that you must accept, right? And you must accept that this road, this path to victory is going to lead violence, right? It's going to lead to violence. And Sir Otto, 20 years later in this series, is still driving that point home to Alicent, that no matter what the path is, if you want to survive, if you want your heirs to win the Game of Thrones, the only way to do so is to play violence, right? You gotta play rough. You gotta not be afraid to break a few necks and remove a few heads. If you are, then you're not ready for this game. And remember, Sir Otto has been preparing Alicent for this game her whole life, right? She responds back to him with, okay, that's cool. I understand that. No, that was a wrong way for me to explain that. She didn't respond back with like a cool level-headed response. She's like, okay, but it doesn't need to be wanton violence. Like, we don't need to just make it violence for violence sake. We don't need to just be all willy-nilly with the killy-willy, right? We need to actually have a purpose and some intent to what we're doing here, because that's the whole point of what Alicent was trying to do in putting her son as the king, right? She was trying to prevent a bunch of war and bloodshed because she knew that the throne should go to a male, because the Seven Kingdoms are not going to follow a queen. Historically, they have not done so. And when Jaehaerys, the old king, the first guy that we saw in the very first scene, opening scene of this TV show, when he named his heir as Viserys, he sort of set a precedent that, because there were female heirs that were available. Rhaenys, for one, right? She was technically old. She was a little bit older, but she was just she had a better claim to the throne, and her husband, Corlys Velaryon, who would have been her king consort, had a bunch of power because he has the royal navy, the royal fleet, all those ships. And then also House Velaryon at this time was more powerful than House Lannister, more rich than House Lannister. So Rhaenys was a better candidate, but the old king Jaehaerys was like, nah, I'm gonna choose Viserys. He chose Viserys for the simple fact that Viserys was a male, right? It's just that's literally why. So Alicent was trying to prevent all that bloodshed, so she's still keeping in that same thing. Like, I know there's gonna be violence, but it doesn't have to be wanton violence. This scene was incredible. Olivia Cook, you did amazing. Rhys Ifan, you did amazing. I can't wait to watch the continuity of this scene when it comes out in just a few weeks. Oh, please let me know your thoughts about this down below in the comment section. Then the next scene that I want to discuss, this one was a bit shorter. Each of the, if you've already seen them, each of the clips were only a few episodes long. But Steve Toussaint did sort of like a call-in video Skype interview with News Live Prime, I guess, on ABC. I didn't watch the interview again, but in the clip, he's in bed with Rhaenys. It looks like there's going to be some nudity. We might get to see Corliss's black snake moan. You know what I'm saying? They call him the sea snake. Maybe he's got a long 10-inch penis. Who knows? I know I do. They call me Sir Hunt's snake pants. And I'm like, why y'all call me that? And they're like, because you got a long ass. Oh, I just cursed. Uh-oh. Gotta edit that out. Anyway, sex scene, Steve Toussaint and Eve Best in this scene, Corlys and Rhaenys in this scene are talking about how Daemon is kind of doing his own thing. He's flying off, and he needs to keep his hand. We need his hand at the oar, but he's going off doing his own thing. Now, there's no context to what the heck they're talking about, but you gotta realize, we know context, I know context, because I'm a leaker. Well, I'm not a leaker, but I follow the leaks. I'm a speak leaker. I'm a leak speaker. I speak of the leaks, right? Anytime there's been some information that have come out in regards to literally anything related to House of the Dragon Season 2, right? I'm one of the guys, there's a bunch of us here on YouTube, that will cover the leaks. For instance, let's see, here's this image right here. Now, spoiler warning, before I tell you what it is, spoiler warning, you don't know what it is, it's just an image right now. You don't know what I'm showing you, right? Spoiler warning, that's enough. That's Melee's head. Right here, I'm showing you an image of Melee's head. And you're like, what? Melee's head? Why would Melee's head be shown on the screen and not its body? If you're wondering, it's that blue foam thing in the lower right, well, kind of, center lower right, on the screen there, with the sticks coming off of it. That's Melee's head CGI prop element, right? We've got pictures of what happens post-Battle of Rook's Rest when Rhaenys is super dead. So that person I just showed you in this image right here is super dead. We all knew what was going to happen. I mean, come on, guys. All these people are going to die by the end of the show. So it's just a matter of when and how, right? Some of them even die of old age in the books, at least. But anyway, they're like, yo, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Daemon's a rogue, and we don't know what the next plan will be. Well, in canon, and kind of what we know what happens with the leaks, although not really, because a lot of the scenes with Daemon were sort of non-existent. Daemon wasn't really around much for the leaks, and I think it was because he injured himself filming some stuff, so some of his scenes are kind of inside the studio, and some of his stuff was filmed later on, so we don't really have that many images, but we do know what his character does. His character, as soon as Season 2 kicks off, Daemon goes to Harrenhal. Once he goes to Harrenhal, in canon, he sends a note to Rhaenyra because he finds out what happens with Lucerys and Arrax, and then also Vhagar and Aemond, right, over Storm's End. He finds out what happens from Harrenhal, and then sends a letter to Rhaenyra and Dragonstone. Remind you, this is what happens in canon. This is obviously not what happened on the TV show. They broke canon a little bit last season. So anyway, Daemon's at Harrenhal. He sends her a note. He's like, blood for blood, son for son, right? And then he hires Mysaria to get blood and cheese to go and kill the king's son and heir, right? And that's all while he's in Harrenhal. So in the TV show, he's still in Dragonstone when a son for son happens, when Lucerys and Arrax are killed above Storm's End by Vhagar and Aemond. So, for the TV show, he hasn't gone to Harrenhal yet. I'm assuming Daemon will do so. And the way that these two are talking, it makes it seem like he didn't get Rhaenyra's permission to do so. So maybe you all let me know what you think down below in the comment section. But I think what's happening in this scene right here is Rhaenyra and... I'm sorry. Rhaenyra and Corlys will have a hookup scene next season. No, Rhaenys and Corlys are discussing after just having a S scene, right? They're sort of coupling, and this is kind of reminds me a little bit of a lot of the scenes that would happen after a character is nude, known as sex position in Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones made up a way to convey dialogue through showing nudity on screen to keep the audience's interest, but then also keep them listening to the dialogue at the same time, or like to get an important message out in the dialogue, something that could be wordy, but you need to get the message across. So that's could be what they're doing in this scene right here. But then the next scene, and the last actual scene before we jump into the images that I want to discuss, is this one right here, right? Again, sorry I can't show you the whole clip, but go watch it online. This was released on Jimmy Fallon. Matt Smith, a.k.a. freaking Prince Daemon, was being interviewed by Jimmy Fallon, and they released a clip. And this clip is super special to me because the person in the clip, known as Elliot Tittenser, right, is a dear social media friend of mine. He followed me on social media. Him and his brother Luke followed me on social media when the show first came out, season 1. I was following them, and we all be talking about smoking herbs. And I don't mean no freaking thyme and rosemary. I mean marijuana. I mean THC. I mean tetrahydrocannabidiol. Cool. So this, all that aside, there's this scene between Sir Eric and Daemon, and in this scene, Daemon's kind of, he looks like he's leaving, right? Like, obviously, he walks away from Sir Eric, and he's mad, and he's got anger visibly written all over his face, right? But it looks like he's in the process of going somewhere and doing something. The main reason being is because it kind of, the energy that I'm getting from Sir Eric is that he's confronting Daemon. He's like, no, wait, I'm not who you think I am. Let me put this impression in your head before you go, kind of. Wake me up before you go, don't let me hang around like you do. Like, literally, he's like, wait, before you go, I just want to let you know my head, where it's at. Here it is. Bam. I am Rhaenyra's protector. I chose to leave, Aegon, and Daemon confronts him, and he's like, why didn't you kill Aegon? Aegon was right there. You could have stabbed him. He was right there in your grasp. And then Eric hits him back with, yo, bro, he's like, yo, bro, that's not my job, right? My job is to protect the royal family. How am I going to kill the royal family? And that's how the scene ends. It's like Sir Eric tells him, like, yo, I swore this oath at the age of 8 and 10, which if you're unaware, that's 18, right? And all he knew was to protect the royal family. So when King Aegon steals Rhaenyra's crown, he doesn't know what to do because, like, that's someone he's charged to protect. Even though he's Rhaenyra's sword and protector, he's charged with his whole task in being in the King's Guard is to protect the king and his family and his royal persons and anybody associated with him, right? So his children, right, Rhaenyra and Aegon, that's his job. He's got to protect them. So, like, when they turn against each other, even though they didn't, really, it's Alicent turned Aegon against Rhaenyra, right? He doesn't know what to do. But he did know one thing, is that it felt the most right to go and protect Rhaenyra. So it's going to be interesting to see what Daemon's freaking response is going to be to this. It'll be interesting to get more context of this scene. I feel like this is obviously before the famous Carjo brothers duel, and they end up killing each other. But I feel like this could be the motivation that Eric needs to kill his brother Eric. Like, he doesn't know Eric is going to show up. He doesn't know that King Aegon is going to task his twin brother with going to go kill Rhaenyra after Blood and Cheese. Eric doesn't know that, but this conversation with Daemon may give Eric the strength he needs to kill his brother. Because you gotta realize, they both swore an oath. They both are technically right in what they're doing. That's what's so confusing about this whole thing, is that technically both sides are right. The king names his heir, but precedent and laws and tradition are also a thing. It's always a male. If there's a viable male heir, it goes to the male. So the king has a viable male heir and an heir that he named through his self. Like, whew, both sides are right. Man, this is such an awesome show. I love it. Elliot Tittenser, Matt Smith, you guys did amazing in this scene. I can't wait to actually watch the whole scene in its entirety. And then next up, jumping right into the next thing, we have some promotional images. We got to talk about these two right here. We got to talk about this temporary power couple. Why does it look like my boy Jacaerys is about to cry? Does he have tears in his eyes? Let me zoom in on this mug. My boy, you are crying. You know what? This is when he finds out about Lucerys. So we know that Jacaerys in canon does not technically fly back home when he finds out about Lucerys. He's in the Vale, then he's at White Harbor, then he's obviously in the north at Winterfell, right? He's trying to get all of his mother's forces together to rally behind her, to call their banners, to go and march down south and make sure they're going to stay true to their oaths, because well, there's just no guarantee, right? They know this is Westeros. You don't know what's gonna happen when it's time to go to war, right? There's all this treachery and stuff. So Jacaerys and Lucerys were tasked with going to go make sure Rhaenyra's army's in order, right? So on the TV show, Lucerys dies just like in the books, but Jacaerys comes back home, and it looks like he has a moment with Baela. There's supposed to be a wedding. They're supposed to get married when Jacaerys comes back home. But that's interesting because supposedly I've been sent leaks that have said the first scene that we're going to see of Jacaerys this season is when he's in Winterfell. Like the first scene that we're going to see of him is when basically he is having a scene with Cregan. And my whole thing is that didn't make much sense, because if that's the case, then why is it mentioned that he goes to the Vale? Like, we need to see him go to the Vale first, and then he continues on to White Harbor, and then eventually obviously Winterfell. I guess that's me just being too much of a book stickler. It doesn't have to actually happen that way. But we do have these promo images, so we know that, a scene was filmed at the Wall. Basically, there was this snowy wood that happened, or snowy wood. There was wood in this. There was snow in the wood. But no, they filmed this scene from the trailer where basically where Jacaerys arrives at the Wall, and he's got a pack of dudes with him. Hang on, I'm looking for the actual image here. Just give me 1 second. When he arrives, there's a group of people that greet him. There's rumors that supposedly Cregan and Jace go on a hunting trip, and in that hunting trip they sort of bond and become lovers. Like, I know you're like, what? Lovers? Yes. There was no actual mention of Cregan and Jacaerys being gay together in the books. That was just a leak that was like one of the first leaks that was ever sent to me. This image that I'm showing you right here is just the Brothers in Night's Watch behind the scene leaked image filming from when they were filming season 2. Pull the actual image back up, but Jacaerys and Cregan, if something does happen between them, I think it would be really interesting, as long as it doesn't like take away from the plot of the story, where they're kind of like trying to sort of cater to certain fans that may be LGBT. If it doesn't feel like that, then who cares, right? Who cares? It's like everybody should be represented on screen. Who cares if it doesn't affect the actual writing and pacing and anything with the show? Like, if it doesn't take away from the story, you can't really be mad about it, right? Because if it is, then it's kind of like you need to ask yourself some internal questions. But continuing on here, this is very clearly when Jacaerys finds out the news about Lucerys. There was a rumor of a wedding between the two of them. That doesn't happen in canon. When Jacaerys goes to Winterfell, there's rumors that, in the books anyway, that he falls in love with Cregan's sister, Sarah Snow. The two of them have a thing, and they end up getting married, and we have something known as the Pact of Ice and Fire. Now, if Jacaerys and Baela get married on the TV show, obviously they're not going with the Pact of Ice and Fire. There's got to be something that happens between Jace and Cregan. There's got to be something that mentions the Pact of Ice and Fire, because that leads all the way down to Jon Snow, right? Like, the Pact of Ice and Fire initially is like Jacaerys is in the north with Cregan, and Jacaerys says, yo, you guys we need you as a strong ally, right? So there's a marriage between House Stark and House Targaryen. That marriage is Jacaerys' younger brother will marry Cregan's heir when he has one. So the two of them were supposed to get married, and eventually they'd be heirs to the throne if something were to happen to Jacaerys and then any children that Jacaerys potentially has. So that's literally the Pact of Ice and Fire. It's that a member of House Stark would marry a member of House Targaryen, and it happened during the battle, this Targaryen Civil War known as the Dance of the Dragons. So there was supposed to be one member from House Stark and one member from House Targaryen who got married, and that never really happened, for the most part, that we know of in the history books and in canon, what's told to us through Fire and Blood and Lord of Ice and Fire and the Rogue Prince and Princess. The Rogue Prince and then the Princess and the Queen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between Jacaerys this season and Baela. Baela is definitely given a bigger storyline because she literally doesn't, or shouldn't really, pop up until like season 4. And her big thing is that she kills, her dragon nearly kills Sunfire, and her dragon Moondancer is a lot smaller than Sunfire. But the only reason why it's able to do it is because Sunfire is mortally wounded nearly half a dozen times in previous fights before, right? But for the TV show, we've seen Bela riding her dragon Moon Dancer at what appears to be the Battle of Rook's Rest. So maybe she pulls a Daemon, right? Remember how I was mentioning earlier that Daemon will just dip out and go to Harrenhal. Maybe she pulls a Daemon like her father, right? And goes out to Rook's Rest. I've actually theorized about this before. Go check out my 2-hour-long video breakdowns on trailers that are released over the past month or so when the trailers come out. But basically, Bela could leave, fly to Rook's Rest, show up too late and see her grandmother Rhaenys die, and that's like the motivation she needs to play a part in the play a part in the war, because basically what she does in the early part of the Dance of Dragons is hop between fly, like basically hop or fly, whatever you want to call it. Her dragon can barely fly, right? But she just goes back and forth between Driftmark, Dragonstone, and High Tide, and just kind of hangs out in the safe space, right? And then when Aegon comes to Dragonstone, she ends up seeing that she's at Dragonstone, and then she goes up on her dragon Moon Dancer to go and meet him and Sunfire up in the air, and then they have a fight, right? She ends up almost dying during that fight because she rides her dragon to the ground, and Aegon jumps off of his dragon and breaks both of his legs, but she rides her dragon all the way to the ground, kind of like a captain must go down with his ship idea. And when she does that, she's like knocked out, unconscious, and takes her a long time to heal. So it'd be interesting to see what they do for him in the TV show. And the next image, we're just talking about him so much. Aegon, look at this dude sitting right there. Now, this is actually not a new promo photo, so I'm not going to spend that much time talking about it. But this is Aegon in all his epicness. This was probably one of the first scenes we see of him this season. Like, I think they're going to do what they did in episode 9 and 10 a lot more this season. So that's like flopping back and forth. So basically, you have the greens and you have the blacks, you have the queen's party, you have the princess party, and we're going to find out how an event affects them, like how an event will affect the greens and then how an event will affect the blacks. I think they'll be doing that a lot this season, and I feel like this could be Aegon's first scene. And they're like, this is how the blacks took the death of Lucerys and what Aemond did, and then hop over to the greens and say, this is how the greens took the news of, Lucerys' death. Then the next image I want to discuss, this one, not that much time on this one either, but this is Rhaenyra looking out at the ocean after finding out about her son's death, right? Like we know from this image right here that was released with the trailer that Rhaenyra is going to give her son Lucerys a funeral pyre. So there's actually an actor who was cast to play the fisherman who finds the remains of Lucerys, and then Rhaenyra shows up and she gets his remains, and then they take him back to Dragonstone, I would assume. And this is that scene where she's finding out about, like, oh, your son didn't survive. Like, he was an envoy, he was on a peace mission, he was supposed to just be going to go and ask for people to bend the knee to you, not get hurt, right? But he ended up dying tragically. Not just him, but his dragon died as well. Super tragically. And you are now finding out about that after having lost your father in a miscarriage, right? So she is not in the best mental state here. It's going to be hard to watch. It's really going to test the actor who's playing Rhaenyra. It's really going to test their skill on screen. Like, they will need to 100% show that they're ready to play a broad range of emotions. Emma Darcy has to be like, hey, I am here and this is how to act, right? Like, they have to be a domineering presence on screen. I can't wait. I'm not excited about the tragedy, but I can't wait to see the actor portray that on screen. Let me know how excited you are to see Emma Darcy play Rhaenyra. Let me know down below in the comment section, please. And then the next image I want to discuss, this one right here. This one's pretty interesting. We've got Daemon and Rhaenyra, and this is probably related to that scene. Remember, there's a scene from the last trailer where Rhaenyra says, "Can you follow me?" Like, she's asking Daemon. She's got a conversation with Daemon. It's like, you're supposed to be loyal to the crown. You're following the crown, but can you follow a woman? Are you loyal to me? Right? And the only reason why she's having this conversation, like, that line is not verbatim. That's not necessarily the scene and how we watch it in the trailer, but it's I feel like this conversation is happening because he choked her. Remember, she was like, "Oh, my dad didn't tell you about the prophecy of ice and fire," and then he started choking her. Like, she she probably slid that under the rug. She's never going to be as close with him ever again, because I don't think he's ever done anything like that to her. At least the reaction that she has makes it seem like this is the first time he's doing this, right? But I feel like she's got to, like, sweep it under the rug and just carry on, because they're in a war. They're in a big game, playing a big game right now. And then her son dies. And then after her father, like, just a few hours and few days before that, her father dies, and then she has a miscarriage, loses her daughter Visenya, right? So she kind of has to sweep what Daemon did under the rug. She kind of doesn't have enough time to address the issues between the relationship that may cause them to basically no longer be together. It'll just be like a political marriage, right? Like, they're not going to be intimate with each other no more after something like that. And I feel like she's ignoring that, and she's just saying, like, look, dude, are you going to do what's necessary that we need to do to win the war? Like, whose side are you? Are you going to fight for yourself, or are you going to fight for me, right? Like, I don't have time to deal with you being a rogue prince. Get it? Get it? That was Daemon's nickname. That's Daemon's nickname in the books, is the Rogue Prince. Oh, man, I'm so clever. Oh, yeah, I was reading the comments of people last time saying, in my last video where I messed up, I think, one name or something, somebody goes, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No, this is your first time seeing me, seeing my content. Whatever, I don't need to brag. But, yeah, this scene is going to be, like, exactly, at least I think it's going to be, like, Rhaenyra saying, Daemon, are you with me? I understand you don't, like, have to respect me, right? But are you with me? No, he does have to respect, but she's basically, like, just sweeping their personal problems under the rug, and she's like, are you in this? And then the next image, and one of the last ones that I want to discuss for this video, Aemond Targaryen. Dun, 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 dun. Ewan Mitchell was doing an amazing job of playing. I say his name wrong. It's Ewan or Ewan, like Ewan McGregor, but I say Ewan, like Ewok. Ewan. Hey, yo, what up, my dude, Ewan? But yeah, the one-eyed prince is here. There's not that much context for what's happening in the scene. Like, obviously, he's in what appears to be the throne room. Remember, there was that scene that looked like it was a dream sequence of him walking through, like, a storm to the Iron Throne, and then the lightning flashes, and it kind of looks like there could be something behind him, or maybe he's creeping up on someone. I feel like the fact that the characters that were made prominent in the last episode or two, like, so obviously that's going to be Tom Glencairn, or Aegon Aemond, and then Jacaerys, and then Lucerys, unfortunately he died. Those characters, including Baela and a few others, are going to become forefront runners for season 2, because they kind of carry the story after the older characters die. So, like, Rhaenys is going to die. We're going to need someone that replaces some of her screen time and scenes, and so, like, it just gets me really excited, because it just means we're potentially gonna get more Aemond scenes. Like, that was a long-winded version of me saying, like, they're gonna get rid of certain characters to make more room for my favorites, right? And Jacaerys and Aemond, and of course Aegon and Baela, and those are some of my favorite characters, because they do, in my opinion, like Aemond fighting with Daemon at the end. That's like the most prominent event of all of this story. It's like the biggest event by far is when Daemon and Aemond fight each other. So they're kind of hinting at it in the promotional stuff. I'm a big fan of, like, Ewan Mitchell's acting and the aesthetic they gave Aemond, so I can't wait to watch that. Then the last image before we get out of here, this video is almost 25 minutes long, that I want to discuss is actually, you know what? That was it. I want to thank you all so much for watching this. Please stop a like on it. More content's coming. I'll probably try to release at least 1 or 2 more videos before the actual show comes out. If not, go back and watch my trailer video. It's an hour and a half long. Thank you so much for being subscribed this long, and I love you. Along not, sa trisas pusdari, iskos da